Okay, this video is going to take you through the coding part of Activity 2.5, which is the Fitness Challenge app. So you want to make sure that you have completed all of the components section, which was in the previous video, before you move on to the coding. You can't code the components until the components are in there. So you want to make sure your components look just like mine and your designer section looks similar to mine. Your layout can be a little bit different, that's fine. Later on you can change colors and fonts and change your arrangement around. This is just getting you set up so that you're ready to code. Okay, so you're going to want to come over here and hit blocks. Excuse me. When you first get over here, you may not see all of your blocks right away, and it may look like, where's my blocks? What you want to do is just do a right click and choose Expand Blocks, okay, and that will open everything up. And then you want to do a right click and sort blocks by category. That way you can easily find what we're working on, okay? And it puts them in order by the type of block that they are. So once you have everything expanded and sorted, then we're ready to get going. So the first thing that you're going to do, and what I'm going to do in this video is just, I'm going to go between showing you the correct code, and then I'm going to slide over to my file and make changes on it. So that's what you'll see me going back and forth on. So this first part, okay, this is the first part of the coding that we need to do. Whoops, I'm actually down a little bit. This is the first part of the coding that we need to do. On your App Inventor, you're going to want to find your code that right now says initialize global entry months to create empty list. And what we're going to do is we're going to change this from entry months to entry days. Because remember, we changed the spinner from months to days. Okay, so now we're going to just switch back over. You're going to find your initialize stuff. Here's what we were looking for. I'm just going to click in here. I'm going to take out months and I'm going to put in days. Okay. Same thing on the next one. This is initialize global entry amounts. That's where when we were on the Flu Tracker app, they would select a month and then they would type in the number of patients that had the flu for that month. Instead of that, we are going to change that to entry activities, because in our fitness app, they're going to choose the day and then they're going to type into a text box the activity that they did, like walking or elliptical or running, whatever it is that they did. So we need an empty list for that one. We can just change the entry amounts global variable to entry activities. So switch back over. You're just looking for entry amounts. I'm going to click inside there and change that to activities. Okay, so that's your first step, and that's how I'm going to do this video, is just go back and forth. So do what works for you. You might want to just look at the answers that I show you and pause it, work on it, and then start the video again. Okay. So the next step is going to be to add in a variable for entry active minutes. Okay, this is something new, something we did not have in our Flu Tracker app. We have three things we're entering in the fitness app. We're entering the day, the activity that they did, and then also the duration or the amount of time that they did the activity. Okay, so we need to create this, meaning you'll have to pull over an orange block and you're going to have to initialize entry active minutes to create empty list. I'm going to switch back and do it. Variable section, initialize global entry activity minutes to create empty list. Okay, let's just double check that we got that right. Oops, keep clicking on the wrong one. Entry active minutes. I think I put activity minutes. Let me fix that. I did. Let me fix that. Entry active minutes. Okay. All right, so those are the first three things we've done. Changed entry months to days, entry amounts to entry activities, and we created the global variable entry active minutes. So now we need to check your add button. Okay, if you used a file like my file from Activity 2.4 or your file from Activity 2.4, this will be there. Okay, and these things should have updated for you, but you got to double check them and make sure they are updated. So since we changed get global entry months to days, yours should say days now. Okay, since we changed the day spinner from, it used to say month spinner, so yours should say day spinner here. And same thing here. This used to say global entry amount. It should say global entry activities now. And then this part you will have to add in, okay, because we haven't had that one yet. This is a new thing for the fitness app that was not in the Flu Tracker app. So you have to add this in. You will also have to add in this set duration text box to blank. Okay, what this does is after the user types in their stuff, Monday, walking, 30 for minutes, and they hit the add button, then we want it to clear out our two text boxes so it's ready for the next time they use the app. That's why we do this. After we add the item to the list, then we reset that or clear it out for the next time it's ready. Then we give them a nice message saying, data successfully added. All right, so you may want to pause here, switch over to your file, and check all of these things and add this in. I'm going to do that here as well. So there's my add button. I'm checking this now says get global entry days from the day spinner, the selection, the one they chose. Get global entry activities from the activity text box, and I want the text they chose. So what I'm going to do here, you can either duplicate these blocks or you can pull them in from the drawers over here. But I'm going to duplicate this and just attach it here. And then remember, you've got to make this change. This will be get entry active minutes, and this is going to be the duration text box. The word duration just refers to how long they're exercising. All right, then the next thing we need to do, this is clearing out the activity text box, but we need to clear out that duration text box as well. So we're going to have to get that from here, duration text box. We're going to set the duration text box to 5, 4. And we need a blank here. So we're going to go up to the text section and grab a blank. So that is the add button. Okay, whoops, let me sort these so you can see that completely. There we go. There's your add button. Sometimes the code sets on top of each other once you've expanded your blocks. All right, let's go to the next section. That's the add button. Now what we need to do is go through and make sure that our procedures are correct. And let me warn you ahead of time, when I did this one in class, it did not pull the correct variable. So make sure you check this one really closely. You first want to look at your Show Data button and make sure it has these 3 procedures, and they must be in this order. Okay, so when you think about it, it makes sense. You have to have a sum before you can figure out its average. Okay, so it's going to go display sum, display average, display data list. If you are working from scratch, like you didn't use an old file, you will probably have to create all of this code. Okay, so you may want to pause and go back and forth. All right, so the procedure for display sum, you want to check to make sure that this updated to get global entry active minutes, because that's where the individual types in, for example, 30, if they worked out for 30 minutes, okay? Down here, when you're figuring out the average, this needs to be, this is divided by the total number of active minutes, okay? So let's go ahead and switch over so you can see what it does automatically. So when I go to, I guess first I should check my Show Data button. Make sure that guy's in good shape. He is. Display Sum, Display Average, Display Data List. Now I'm going to come over to my procedures. Start with Display Sum. Notice it's setting it to 0. Then it's going to look at all the activities together, which we actually need that to be global entry active minutes. Okay, and this makes sense if you sit down and think about it, because if you had entry activity or activities, I forget what it's called. Yeah, entry activities. That's going to try to add up things like walk, run, elliptical, bench press. You don't add those things up. They're not numbers. So you got to make sure this one is the minutes one. And then the rest of it should all be global sum here, item, and then global sum. So we got to check the same thing on average. Okay, on the average, same thing. It's pulling the wrong thing right here. This is the wrong variable. It's going to try to divide by run or divide by walk. That's not going to work. So we got to change it to global entry active minutes. Okay. All right. We are ready for the next step. Okay, on this one, we are working in the display data list procedure. Okay. Again, if you started this from scratch, you're going to have to build this code, and it seems rather long. But once you get going on this, you can duplicate some of these, and it'll go a little bit faster. But what we need to do here, okay, you can see outlined in red, and I'm going to pull this up just a little bit. All of this code, you should have everything in your code from the FluTracker app, except for this part, okay? And this is where we're adding in, excuse me, a couple of things. We're adding in the information for the active minutes that they put in, okay? So this just makes sense, just like what we've been doing all along. On the FluTracker, we kept track of the month and then how many patients a month had the flu. Here we're keeping track of 3 things: the day of the week, the activity they do, and for how long they do it, the global entry active minutes, okay? So this is just, adding this hyphen here is just separating the data in the list. So it'll look like this: Monday, colon, walk, hyphen, 30, if they did a 30-minute walk on Monday, okay? Oh, and we add in this minutes here. I forgot that part. All right, so let's switch over and make it happen. Hopefully I'm not making you nauseous looking around for my stuff. Okay, where is that guy? Oh, there he is. All right, so I'm going to come over here, make sure that is global entry days, global display list, entry days, entry activities. All right, so what I'm going to do, remember you have to use the mutator to add in more spots here, and we will need 3 spots, one for the hyphen, one for the select list item, and one for the minutes text box. So you're going to use the mutator, grab the string, and I'll go 1, I gotta scroll up a little, 2, and the 3rd one. Okay, and you should be good to go. So we're gonna need, you can either duplicate or you can pull over. I'm gonna come up here to the text. This is supposed to be a hyphen, which is just a dash. And this right here is where we're going to put minutes. And I am going to duplicate this. Let me actually arrange my blocks again because I see that they're on top of each other again. Probably hard for you to see on the video. Arrange blocks horizontally. Okay, that's better. So here I'm going to just duplicate this. And I'm going to fit it in right there. So Excuse me. Again, you got to remember this is your third piece of information that you're collecting in the fitness app. So it's going to be global entry active minutes. So now just double check. This says entry days, entry activity, entry active minutes, hyphen, and the word minutes. Good to go. All right, let's switch back over. Scroll down. Okay, so you'll remember that we had to decide on two pieces of demographic information to collect from our users, and I decided on name and age. And if you were working with me during class, you probably did the same thing. If you did something different, like maybe you did name and grade or something like that, that's fine. You just want to remember that the blocks need to match. So for example, if this you did grade instead of age, this should be grade text box instead of age text box. Okay. So the first step is to initialize the variables to blank, and then we need to code our submit button. We did not have a submit button in our previous app, so that's why we need to create it. So I'm going to switch back over. I'm going to initialize my two variables. And these are new blocks, so you'll need to go over to the left to the drawer. Initialize global name to, I'm going to capitalize the N here. This will be a blank. Then you need another initialize. Oops, I dropped that somewhere. Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. I don't know what I did there. But anyway, you're going to want this to be age. Oh, I accidentally switched my files. Hold on just a second. Let me try to go back. I hate when that does that. Not sure it'll let me. There we go. All right, so here's my other one. I'm going to change that to age. And then I want a blank text box. All right, now we have to code our submit button because that's new. I need the event handler. When submit button's clicked, we're going to put set global name to whatever is in the name text box text. Set global age to whatever they typed in to the age text box text. Switch back over. Set global name, and then we're going to come down here to the name text box, and you're going to put name text box text. And then now we'll do the exact same thing for the age text box. Set, or excuse me, variable, global age to age text box text. So whatever they typed in there. All right, we're ready to move on. Okay, here's the next step, and this is going to be working in the clear data button. Okay, so there's quite a bit we've got to check and do here. Okay, if you are starting from scratch, you may have to build this entire code. If you used an old file, most of it should come up, and you should just have to use what's here in the red to double check to make sure it's correct. So what we have here, we're going to have to insert code to reset entry activities, entry days, and entry active minutes to empty. Okay, so these are the three lists that we had created earlier, because we're having them put in the activity, the days, and the minutes. And we're going to set it to empty list when they hit the clear data button. That just makes sense, okay? So I'm going to take this kind of step by step. I'm going to go ahead and switch over and do that for clear data. There's my clear data button. And I'm going to go ahead and move him to where you can see as I do all of it. All right, so we are setting I'm not quite sure why they didn't do days first, but I'm going to go with it. Global entry activities to create empty list, and then remember that you can duplicate these and then just use the down arrow to change them to days and active minutes. Duplicate, attach it to the bottom, duplicate, attach it to the bottom, change this to entry days, change this to entry active minutes. Okay, I'm going to switch back over. Here's our next part. So we're going to insert code that's going to reset our activity challenge label to blank. Okay, so we're going to set activity challenge label text, and this is cut off, but this will just be a blank text section. So I'm going to switch back over. Activity challenge label. Set activity challenge label text to blank. So this is just resetting it, clearing it out. Switch back over. All right, and then next step, we're going to insert code to reset the name and age variables to blank and reset the name and age text boxes to blank. Okay, so we have to reset the variables and the text boxes. So set global name to blank, set name text box text to blank, age, and text box. So you're going to be putting in 4 new blocks here. Actually 8 because there's 2 on each, but I'm going to switch on over. Set global name to okay, then I'm going to set name text box text to blank. Okay, I'm going to duplicate and then just use the down arrow to change. So I'm going to right click, duplicate, attach to the bottom, change it to global age. Duplicate, right click, duplicate, attach it, and I'm going to change this to age text box. Okay, I think that does it for the clear data button. It does. All right, so now is where we're going to have to start talking about your activity challenge list. Okay, and your list is going to look different than mine. Okay, it'll be programmed the same, but the choices here will be different. So this example is you're going to initialize an activity challenge list. You're going to make a list, and you're going to include text boxes with the names of your activities. Now, I was doing mine on yoga poses. I'm going to pause you for just a minute because it's going to get, well, actually, it won't let me pause. I better keep going. It might get a little bit loud because that was the bell. You're going to have between 3 and 5 of these. Okay, so you might have them be doing jumping jacks or push-ups. Mine are yoga poses that I'm going to add in. And then whenever the activity challenge button is clicked, okay, what it's going to do is set the activity challenge label text to pick a random item from the list. Okay, so when your user sets that activity challenge button, it's going to choose one of these by random and give it to them, okay, in order to do it. So go ahead and pause here, switch over to App Inventor, and you want to do these pieces of code, okay? Remember, you'll have to use this mutator depending on how many you need. For the purpose of this video, I'm just going to put 3 in, but you may have more than 3. And here's where I'm typing in the name of my activities. You'll type in the name of yours. These are all yoga poses. All right. So the next step is we're going to come over here, and when they choose the activity challenge button, this is where we're going to want to give them a random challenge. It's getting loud in the halls, so hopefully you can hear me while I'm doing this. All right, we're going to set activity challenge label text to, and we're going to pick a random item from the list, global activity challenge list. Set activity challenge label. All right.
What's up, Kelsey? Kelsey. Big never dumped that. No, it's cool.
Pick a random item list, and then you got to tell it what list to choose from. Global activity challenge list. All right, moving on. We are almost there. All right, so now on this part, what this is going to do is it's going to take them to the second screen on this app, which is the activity challenge screen. So we created a button in the components section that says activity challenge. I'm not sure I put screen on the name of mine, so if yours doesn't say screen, that might be why. Then we're going to have open another screen, and then we have to put the name of that screen. Okay. So I'm going to switch back over now. Yeah, I called mine View Activity Challenges button. I should have named that a little better, but if you were working with me on the video, this is probably what I called it. It's going to be right below this section, okay, so you should be able to tell which one you're in. So when that button is clicked, scroll up a little bit. Why isn't that going up further?
Did you go get some chicken?